Before we dive into this exchange, it's important to understand the broader stakes. The discussion centers on rising tensions between the United States and Iran, a geopolitical relationship shaped by nearly 5 decades of mistrust, proxy conflicts, and nuclear concerns. At issue here is whether recent military actions represent a necessary security response or a war of choice. As lawmakers debate strategy, questions about presidential authority, international alliances, and economic consequences are increasingly coming into focus.
Okay, last time we talked, you said this is a regime that has to go in Iran, and you said that all options should be on the table. So why now do you have conflict with the way the president has meted this out?
Listen, we have had 4 different answers on what the purpose of this war is. Is it regime change? Is it to eliminate their ballistic missiles? Is to get rid of the nuclear program that the president claimed had been obliterated? I then heard recently it's the Iranian Navy. So this is a war of choice, because I can tell you this, Shannon, there was no imminent threat to the United States. Matter of fact, there was not even an imminent threat to Israel.
But how do we define that if this is a country and its proxies that are continually attacking us and our allies, have active assassination plots against President Trump? There was a guy convicted in federal court this week connected to that. I mean, where do you draw the line between something being imminent and not?
There's been 47 years of this conflict with Iran. There have been that pressure for much of the time. There was no imminent threat to, I believe, justify starting this war without coming to the American public and saying, here's what we're going to do, here's why we're going to do it, which he did not. And now we're seeing the results. We're seeing, no matter what Secretary Wright says, gas prices have gone up 47 cents. Americans are paying $122 million a day extra in gas coming right out of their pockets. That combined with the declining job numbers, that combined with the stock market crashing. Going into this war without, I don't feel like, the appropriate preparation or having made the case to the American public, I think we've got a lot of explaining to do, and we don't know how long Iran will last. And the notion, I heard the general earlier, I think we are attriting some of their forces, but we still don't know whether those ballistic missiles are being totally eliminated.
What we're hearing here reflects a classic debate in U.S. foreign policy, the balance between preemptive security action and congressional oversight. Critics argue that military engagement should only occur when a clear and immediate threat exists, while supporters often point to long-term regional risks and hostile activity as justification for action. There's also a legal dimension. The War Powers Act allows presidents to initiate military action but requires consultation with Congress within specific timelines. The deeper question becomes one of transparency and strategy. Should the public fully understand the objectives before conflict begins? And how clearly defined must those objectives be for military action to maintain public trust?
Or they're just being hidden. And my fear is that we are running down on the munitions that intercepts the missiles. We've got plenty of bombs to drop on Iran. But how long and how many more of those ballistic missiles does Iran have? Well, and where does this end?
Isn't that one of the problems, though? Because Iran, even in the talks we were having with them, said they would not discuss the missile program. And we knew that that was a growing problem, and they're looking to go far beyond the region where they've actually hit a lot of our allies.
And that would have been an existential threat to Israel in about a year, is what the estimates were. But I really do feel like when we've got America's interest, when we've got dead service members, that we've not made the case, that the president's not made the case, that this was an imminent threat. And we don't know where this is going to end up. I think on a war of choice, I think he chose the wrong time. And frankly, one of the things that I would point out, the president said to the Iranian people, rise up. What happens if 200,000 Iranians protest in Tehran and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard then massacres 20, 30, 40,000 of them? Will we have an obligation then to put troops on the ground?
Well, and that was one of the calls, though, that we were hearing weeks ago from Democrats, and I think you were one of them, who said when the president told them we have your back, and then there wasn't immediate kinetic action or action that we could see, that there was concern about why we didn't follow up, and now we have.
Well, Shannon, we talked about the last time I was here. The reason the president couldn't act in January was because the aircraft carrier that was supposed to be there was off the coast of Venezuela. And the reason we couldn't act in January was because our allies who could help us with both intelligence, particularly that still have a presence in Iran, a lot of the Europeans, were totally focused on the president's attempt to take over Greenland. So he wasn't prepared because of his other foreign policy efforts. And I think, again, then starting this war months later, what happens if those Iranian people go to the streets and they're massacred? I think that will put an obligation on us that I don't think Americans want, which is troops on the ground in Iran.
Well, and as you've seen with the president's back and forth with the UK Prime Minister and others out there, we did move forward without European support, at least on the front end of this. And obviously the intel that we got with Israel and working together with them seemed to be an effective, at least, start to this campaign. And I know there are questions about where it's going to go.
We are always better with allies. We have the world's best military, but we are always better with allies. And unfortunately, this president has literally insulted virtually all of our allies, put them down. And I don't think that, again, makes our country stronger, particularly as we're now seeing the ripple effects of this war with higher gas prices, with declining job numbers, and the president, who takes the biggest pride of all in the stock market, took a big tumble last week, and I'm not sure where it's going to head this week.
Okay, we will see, and we're tracking all of those things. I want to track this as well, though, because Democrats are so critical of what is happening now, but it's not gone unnoticed that there wasn't the same reaction to actions, say, by President Obama in the past with respect to Libya. Wall Street Journal notes this: when Barack Obama spent 8 months on a campaign against Libya, Mr. Schumer and his fellow partisans took a pass and didn't demand that Mr. Obama seek authorization from Congress. The Democrats know that Mr. Trump has observed all the requirements of the War Powers Act of 1973, which gives him 60 days as long as he delivers regular reports to Congress. Do you think he's in compliance with that?
I do not think he's in compliance, because I believe when you have a war of choice, before you start that war of choice, you need to come to Congress. And
so you say that this is differentiated from Libya?
I think when you've got this kind of pre-planned war of choice, I think it is.
Okay, if there was an authorization for use of military force, a new AUMF that came to Congress, say it was about making sure Iran couldn't have a nuclear program, basically the goals that we've been told of this particular conflict.
Which of the four goals are you saying? Is it regime change? Is it weapons? Is it ballistic missiles? Is it the Navy?
But couldn't it be all of those things? I mean, you're going to go after the Navy like you're going to go after the ballistic missiles. I mean, that can all be part of the same operation. They're not in conflict.
Well, the president has to decide, and if he's going to try to make the case of which of those have to be met before we end this war, I'd take a look at it. But it's been so haphazard, and it appears that there was no plan, for example, about preparing the American public for the spike in gas prices. It feels like there was not preparation along with many of our key allies. I think we're stronger when we do that. And if the president, he has himself said we're at war, and it'll be potentially months more. And I just don't know what will be the item that will bring this conflict to an end. And again, as the general said, Iran's a country of 92 million people. Should it fall into a failed state, that would be devastating for the region. And if the president is saying now he gets to select who the next Iranian leader is going to be, I think that simply stiffens their spine.
Well, he definitely said he wants to be part of the process and making sure that we're not doing this again in 5 or 10 years by putting somebody in place who would not be chanting death to America as the current leadership has been. Quickly, before you go, you mentioned being prepared for this, the lead up to it. Do you think that what was happening in Venezuela was in part preparing us for this, making sure there were other oil assets available?
Well, the Venezuelan oil will not be back up to any kind of major production for 3 years. So, and we still have part of the fleet blockading Venezuela. If this is part of some grand scheme or grand strategy, I sure have not seen it from the intelligence side.
This conversation highlights the complexity of modern military decisions, where strategy, legality, economics, and diplomacy all intersect. Supporters of military action often emphasize long-term security risks and the need to deter adversaries, while critics focus on transparency, congressional authority, and the potential unintended consequences of war. Historically, debates like this have shaped how the United States approaches foreign conflicts and defines presidential power. So what do you think? Should military intervention require a clearer public mandate before it begins, or does national security sometimes demand faster executive action? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you value balanced, fact-based breakdowns of major global stories, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who want deeper context behind the headlines.